A year ago this month, the Supreme Court threw precedent to the wind, tossing out the decades-old ruling in Roe v. Wade, infuriating abortion rights supporters across the country.
I'm angry. I'm fired up. The fight is not over.
As expected, that decision immediately triggered a wave of legislation aimed at severely restricting abortions or even eliminating them altogether. But here in Massachusetts, many protections were already codified into state law, with abortion legal up to 24 weeks of pregnancy and later, if necessary, to protect the mother's life and health, or because of a lethal, fatal abnormality. Still, after Roe's reversal, advocates here urged lawmakers to do a lot more to keep Massachusetts leading on reproductive rights. So, now that 1 year has passed, has Beacon Hill heeded that call? And what might the future hold when it comes to abortion rights in Massachusetts and across the country? I'm joined now by Renee Landers, a professor of law at Suffolk University and the vice chair of the board of the Planned Parenthood League of Massachusetts, and Rebecca Hart-Holder, the executive director of Reproductive Equity Now. Thank you both for being here for this conversation.
Thank you.
Renee, any assessment of where things stand in Massachusetts, I know needs to be situated in a discussion about the broader national context. How would you characterize the national impact of the reversal of Roe roughly 1 year on?
Well, I would say that it has really solidified our commitment to trying to make sure that the laws in Massachusetts are protective of reproductive rights. But even with, really strong laws here that not only protect, as you said in your introduction, the access to abortion, there are also strong protections in law to try to protect providers in Massachusetts who provide care that's legal in Massachusetts from being prosecuted or from having their licenses affected because of legal actions in other states if they provide care to residents of other states. So I think that's a very important development in the law. Remains how effective those measures will be in the national context. And then finally, though, I think it's important to recognize that we still have some gaps here in Massachusetts where it's very difficult for people in some parts of the state to get reproductive health care and abortion care in particular, the islands, southeastern Massachusetts. So I think that we still have some work to do here.
Let's get to that work in a second, but I want to ask you a little more about what's happened nationally. My understanding is we've got about half the country right now, or half the states in the country that have near total bans on abortion on the books. But you and I were emailing earlier in the week. There's also indirect effects, right? Like, for example, providers choosing to not go to places that have restrictive policies and thereby effectively creating a complete ban. Am I right about that?
Well, yes. So there are two factors at play. One is that some of the states, some of these restrictive state laws, not all of them, have exceptions for to protect the health of the pregnant person or the life of the pregnant person or for fetal abnormalities. However, some of the laws are so vaguely written that it makes the physicians really reluctant to take action in cases where a woman is miscarrying, for example, and so they wait until the health consequences are very risky for the person before taking action that would be medically appropriate to end the pregnancy. So that's one. And then on the shortage of physicians, there's already a nationwide shortage of physicians. Generally, it's particularly acute for OBGYN in that specialty. And the recent statistics from the applications for residency programs and OBGYN around the country indicate that physicians in that field are avoiding the states with restrictive laws and that other physicians are avoiding those states. And so those states also have some of the most severe shortages of physicians, and so this is going to exacerbate problems in delivering any kind of basic health care in some of these states.
Okay, thanks for that overview. Rebecca, I want to get you to talk more about the state situation that Renee touched on a moment ago. Your organization and Renee's and the ACLU of Massachusetts released right after Roe's reversal this Beyond Roe agenda. What is the status of that agenda, which contained a bunch of provisions you said the state should do to strengthen abortion rights here in the state? What's the status of it 1 year on?
We've made huge progress here in Massachusetts. So obviously we anticipated that Roe was going to fall when we passed the Roe Act in December of 2020. But then when the Dobbs opinion leaked, we went farther and we worked day and night with the Attorney General's office and with our allies on Beacon Hill to frankly write best in the nation protections for abortion providers and providers of gender affirming care. We also have made investments in strengthening our law to make sure that people don't have to travel out of state for care if they need that care post 24 weeks, and to make sure that we have access to medication abortion on college campuses. Another really important piece of what the legislature did in the fall is that it invested $20 million in abortion access and infrastructure. Frankly, that's something that I would have told you was impossible a year before the Dobbs decision, but it is a really clear statement of the importance that Massachusetts places on the right to access abortion.
Tell me about the push that's currently underway to pass a bill that would ban the sale of cell data. And actually, before you tell me about it, I want to roll just a little bit of a video that the ACLU of Massachusetts produced making the case for this legislation. Let's take a look.
Every day, companies collect and sell personal location data from your cell phone, revealing where you live, work, play, and more. Anyone can buy location data. Anti-abortion extremists, domestic abusers, foreign governments, employers.
Rebecca Hart-Holder, why is this legislation necessary? And have we seen here in Massachusetts people having their cell phone data sold to people who want to harass them because of abortions that they may have received or reproductive services they may have received?
Well, I think first we have to situate Massachusetts in the national landscape. So the goal of anti-abortion advocates is not to ban abortion in some states. It is to ban abortion in all states. So part of the attacks on patients seeking reproductive health care is to use third-party sellers to purchase location data. We know that this has already happened. Vice had a great piece that explained that there are abortion heat maps being made by anti-abortion protesters to track patients who travel to states like Massachusetts where access is codified. That is simply unacceptable. So we are working, as you said, with Planned Parenthood and with the ACLU to ban the sale of that data in Massachusetts so that people can come here without fear. We know that party actors are going to try to reach into Massachusetts. Our first step was the Provider Shield Law. Our second step is to try to protect patients and make sure that their most intimate location data, where they live, where they work, where they get health care, is not subject to, the whims of anti-abortion advocates in other states who want to criminalize them for getting that care.
Renee Landers, earlier this year, a Texas judge issued an order that would have stopped the distribution of mifepristone, which is a drug people use to get medical abortions. That was then stayed by the U.S. Supreme Court. Right after the Texas judge issued that ruling, Governor Healy came out and said, we're going to stockpile mifepristone here in Massachusetts. Don't worry. If you need it, you're going to be able to get it. Are there any other legal fights brewing or legal decisions looming that could force people here in Massachusetts to spring into action to respond to something that happened somewhere else and is very big?
Well, I think that that's always the possibility. I think the mifepristone one is the most significant one right now. And, right now the case is back with the Court of Appeals in the Fifth Circuit to examine what the district court judge did in that case. There's a competing decision in another circuit which was, kept mifepristone on the market and upheld the FDA's approval of the drug. So I do think that, as Rebecca has said, that is going to be an ongoing battle. I think the next fight might be over the FDA's anticipated authorization of an over-the-counter contraceptive pill. And so, abortion is just only one part of the reproductive health care landscape. Very important to reproductive health is the ability to have effective contraception and to increase access to that. And I think that the same people who are opposed to abortion will be advocating to try to preclude that from the market as well.
I had a sense that story was brewing, and yet I compartmentalized in my mind, even though what you say makes complete sense that they go together. I hadn't even thought of that as another thing that might have ripple effects coming up to watch. Rebecca, would you add anything to that list of decisions that may be looming that are about to come down?
Yeah, we're certainly watching a law in Idaho that would make it a crime to help people travel for abortion care. So you would think that the right to travel is constitutionally protected and that we should certainly not worry about anything that abridges that right. But I think abortion exceptionalism is alive and well in the federal court system. And so that is a case that we are paying real attention to. I think anything that anti-abortion advocates can do to to really attack access in our states, we have our eye on, because like I said before, the goal is a 50-state ban. The goal is not a 19-state ban, which is what we have right now.
All right, I'm going to ask. Oh, go ahead, Renee.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say one other thing on that. The right to travel, I think, is at risk. Justice Kavanaugh and Dobbs wrote a decision saying, this has nothing to do, a concurrence that says this has nothing to do with the right to travel. But the right to travel in the Constitution is based on a similar logic that the court used in the Roe and Casey cases that protected the right to abortion. So I do not think that we can rest easily that the right to travel is somehow going to be accepted from the new trend in the Supreme Court jurisprudence.
I'd like to ask you both, if we've got time, maybe a minute and a half left. Back when Roe was overturned, then Governor Baker suggested there could be an indirect benefit to Massachusetts, that maybe businesses would choose to relocate here because they liked the way this state handled reproductive rights. We've heard similar arguments made from current Governor Maura Healey, and yet we've also seen that a large number of people are continuing to leave Massachusetts, in some cases going to states like Florida that are pushing for very restrictive policies when it comes to abortion. And I'd love to know, now it's a minute left because I filibustered, I'd love to know what you each make of that. Rebecca, let's start with you, and then you get the last word, Renee.
Look, I think it's important that Massachusetts is a place that's safe for people to access abortion care and safe for people to access gender-affirming care. But those are people who have the freedom and the resources to move here. And there are a lot of people left who simply don't have that access to care. So we just simply cannot leave them behind. We have to make sure that we are getting them the medication they need to affirm their lives without issue.
All right, Renee, last word to you.
Well, so I would say the counterexample is the Disney fight that Disney is having with DeSantis, Governor DeSantis in Florida. And, they canceled a massive project in Florida because of the inhospitable climate there for the values that Disney wanted to continue to affirm in its business practices.
So maybe an opportunity for Massachusetts if, for example, we can make it easier for more people to get homes here that they can afford.
Right.
Renee Landers, Rebecca Hart-Holder, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.